Please help.
It was my 8-year-old grandchild who had been missing for a week. One early morning, he suddenly appeared at my house, covered in mud and looking worn out. "We need to tell your mom and dad." But as I reached for my phone, he grabbed my hand desperately, saying,
"No. You can't contact them."
When I heard the full story from my grandchild, the shocking truth about my son and daughter-in-law came to light, and my anger reached its peak. How could they? I will never forgive them. And so, while harboring my grandchild, I vowed revenge against them. My name is Caroline. After retiring at 65, I spent my days volunteering at a children's facility. Come to think of it, I wonder how Danny is doing. While watching the children happily playing in the facility's garden, I found myself thinking about my own grandchild. However, I didn't have much involvement with my son's family. They were reluctant to invite me into their home, and I rarely had the chance to see my 8-year-old grandson. Even when we did meet, Danny was the quiet type, obediently following his parents' instructions. He's unusually well-behaved for his age, I thought at first, but gradually, things started to seem off.
Geez, Mom, did you come here without telling us again?
Oh, is there something inconvenient about my visits?
It's not like that, but if you're coming, at least give us a heads up.
My son Elliot always greeted me with a look of annoyance whenever I visited their house. Sure, it would be better to give them a heads up, but even when I did mention beforehand that I wanted to visit, I was usually turned down. Still, I couldn't help but worry about whether my married son was living a proper life, so I had no choice but to drop by unexpectedly.
Sorry. We didn't expect you and the room is a mess.
My daughter-in-law, Georgia, didn't bother hiding her indifferent attitude either. I could hear the sound of running water and clinking dishes coming from the kitchen, where my grandson Danny seemed to be doing the dishes. "Hello, Danny," I called out as I peered into the kitchen. Danny stopped the water and stepped down from the stool he was using to reach the sink to wash the dishes. Danny seemed somewhat nervous, unsure of my unexpected visit, as he avoided eye contact and remained silent.
Danny, say hello to Grandma.
His father ordered. Startled, Danny's shoulders twitched, and he stammered.
"Hello."
In a timid voice. "Isn't your tone a bit too harsh?" Danny seemed scared.
Sorry. I'll be more careful."
Her son responded with a dismissive tone, seeming bothered by the conversation. "Anyway, why are the curtains closed in the middle of the day?"
What does it matter? Mind your own business.
As I mentioned the curtains, my son suddenly became angry. I couldn't understand what was bothering him so much.
It's that. Since it's sunny today, the light from outside comes in through the window. I, have weak eyes, so I'm not good with bright light.
Oh, I see. You could have just said that. Even as I glanced at Elliot with a hint of reproach, he just sighed irritably.
Come on, Danny. We adults need to talk, so go over there.
Oh, there's no need for that. I came to see Danny.
Danny.
At his father's stern voice, Danny, with a pale face, hurriedly went upstairs to the bedroom.
So? What did you come here for?
Well, Danny's birthday is coming up soon, right? I'm not sure what to get him, so I thought I'd ask about his preferences.
Oh, Caroline, That's not necessary at all. Please don't worry about it.
While her son seemed displeased, I noticed her daughter-in-law trying to gauge my mood. Although I felt a sense of discomfort within this family, I didn't yet understand what it was. Then, with the words "it's almost dinner time" from my daughter-in-law, I ended up leaving their home that day, feeling somewhat dismissed. Danny's attitude. It feels like it's more than just being obedient. It might have been my intuition built over the years, but I sensed that something wasn't right. Despite being turned away by my son and daughter-in-law, I couldn't give up. So, a week later, I prepared a gift and visited their home again. However, the words from my son were chilling. Just go home. Can't we at least celebrate my grandchild's birthday?
There's no point when the guest of honor isn't here. Damn it.
Huh? What do you mean by that? When I pressed him for an explanation, Elliot had a look of "oh no" on his face. Realizing that this was serious, I insisted on hearing more details, and what I discovered was troubling. Surprisingly, Danny left a note saying, "I'm running away," and has been missing for a week.
We've been making posters, distributing them around the neighborhood, and even getting the community association to circulate flyers. We've already filed a missing person report with the police.
Oh no. Do you have any idea why he would run away?
It's my fault. I scolded him for throwing a tantrum about wanting a toy he saw in a TV commercial.
My daughter-in-law, Georgia, started crying softly. However, I still felt that something was off. Would a child who usually listens to their parents suddenly become so selfish? In the end, I was persuaded by my son and daughter-in-law, who said, "We've already reported it to the police, so all we can do now is wait," and had no choice but to return home. Still, I couldn't help but worry about my grandchild, and eventually, I found myself unable to sleep. Danny. Please be safe. Even as I lay in bed, my eyes remained wide open. I kept getting up to drink warm cocoa. Repeatedly, until gradually, the outside began to brighten with the coming dawn. Then, from outside the window came the weak voice of a child.
Grandma. Grandma. Are you there?
That voice. I hastily put on my sandals and rushed out into the yard, where I saw a child covered in mud and looking ragged. Without a doubt, it was my grandson, Danny. I hurried to his side, tears streaming down my cheeks, and hugged him tightly, not caring about getting dirty. Danny. Oh, I'm so glad you're alive.
Grandma, please. Help me.
Can you tell Grandma what happened, Danny? Convinced that something was amiss, I decided to hear Danny's side of the story. What I discovered was shocking. A week ago, Danny was abruptly taken to the mountains by his parents, only to be abandoned there with the words, "We don't need you anymore." Moreover, I learned that Danny had been subjected to mistreatment by his parents on a regular basis. How could they? I can never forgive this. Armed with the truth, I took my grandson under my wing and resolved to take action against my son and daughter-in-law. First, I decided to confirm his condition. I took Danny, covered in mud, to the bathroom and helped him take off his clothes. Just as he had described, there were several bruises and burn marks that looked like they had been caused by cigarettes. They're targeting only the parts that can be hidden by clothes. How despicable. I was so furious at the cunningness of my son and daughter-in-law that I felt like my head was about to explode with anger. I documented those scars with photographs, cleaned up Danny's body, and then took him to the hospital to obtain a medical report. In addition, I listened to my grandson's detailed account and meticulously noted it down.
If I don't listen to Mom and Dad, they always hurt me badly.
With tears welling up in his eyes, Danny clenched his lips. It's not that he's obedient, he's just been scared of his parents all along. I regretted why I hadn't noticed it sooner and felt frustrated with myself for being so blind. I'm sorry, Danny. If I had known earlier, I could have protected you. We hugged each other tightly, both shedding tears uncontrollably. Afterward, I entrusted my grandson with staying home and, without being noticed by my son and daughter-in-law, I spoke to the people living near their house. The curtains in Elliot's house are closed all day again today. I noted down what the neighbors told me and recorded it with a voice recorder. Having made these preparations, I headed to my son and daughter-in-law's house to teach them a lesson.
Oh, Mom. Danny still hasn't been found.
I'm so worried, so worried. But it's been over a week now, and maybe it's too late.
The daughter-in-law sniffled while the son comforted her. Their acting was so transparently fake that I looked at them with a cold gaze. That thing about Danny. The story about filing a missing person report with the police, that's a blatant lie, isn't it?
Ha! What's with the sudden accusation? Of course it's true, isn't it obvious?
Because when I went to the police again to inquire, they said they hadn't received any such report. My son's face contorted with frustration at being caught in a lie. Meanwhile, Georgia, my daughter-in-law, stopped fake crying and looked visibly flustered. Besides, the neighbors testified that they frequently heard Danny's screams and cries coming from behind the closed curtains.
What are you talking about? Who said such a thing?
You too. You didn't close the curtains to hide the fact that you were mistreating your own child, did you? Ignoring my son's attempt to deflect, I brought the conversation back to the main point.
That's not true. It was just part of discipline.
Then what's all this about? I took out some photos I had prepared from my bag and tossed them onto the table. The photos showed the bruises and burn marks on Danny's body. If this is part of discipline, then isn't it going too far? If it were me, I'd report it to the police.
Damn it, this crap.
Elliot tore up the photos in a panic, but of course, the original data was still safely stored at home, so his actions were futile. Give it up. We have testimony from Danny and a doctor's diagnosis.
What? Is he still alive?
Oh, such harsh words for your own child. He's safe now, under protection. By the way, have you forgotten who I am? Actually, I used to be a school teacher, so I was accustomed to dealing with parents who mistreated their children. Ironically, it was my assumption that my own son would never do such a thing that led to deep regret over how Danny's mind and body had been worn down. Suddenly, my daughter-in-law, still looking down, began to chuckle.
Ha ha ha. Oh dear. Busted. You really are amazing, Caroline.
She abruptly dashed out to the hallway, and when I wondered what was going on, she returned with a bat from the umbrella stand in the entrance.
Elliot, we have no choice but to take care of your mother.
Guess so. Sorry, Mom. Just keep your mouth shut forever.
To my horror, my son and daughter-in-law began to aim the bat at my head, intending to silence me forever. None of this would have happened if you hadn't mistreated Danny in the first place. Why?
I never liked kids to begin with. But Georgia got pregnant, so I was stuck raising one. Kids are supposed to obey their parents, right?
At least if he could have been perfect at doing household chores and been useful. But a week ago, he broke my favorite plate. So, I thought we didn't need such a kid anymore, you know.
You left Danny in the mountains for something like that? The heartless words from my daughter-in-law made me doubt my ears, and at the same time, I couldn't help but feel sorry for where I went wrong in raising my son. Even if you do something like this, it's pointless. Just surrender quietly.
Huh, you joking? If Mom and Danny were gone, everything would be solved.
After taking care of you, we'll take Danny to the same place, so don't worry.
I sensed the danger to my life, so I dashed into the hallway and headed for the front door. But just before stepping outside, my son grabbed me in a stranglehold.
This is the end. Give up, Mother.
Goodbye forever, mother-in-law. We'll say hello to Danny for you.
My daughter-in-law raised the bat towards my head, but at that moment...
That's enough. Don't move.
An acquaintance from my teaching days whom I had informed beforehand arrived with the police. My son and his wife were apprehended on the spot and arrested for the crime in progress. However, as soon as they were handcuffed, they began to cry meekly.
Wait. What will happen to Danny if we're gone?
He'll surely cry and feel lonely.
They try to appeal to pity, forgetting all they've done, but no one is buying it. Finally being liberated from parents like you, who are nothing but trouble, would only bring tears of joy, if any. My son and his wife were shoved into the police car, shouting incomprehensibly, and taken away. Afterward, they were held accountable for their mistreatment of their child and the attempted assault on my life. I believe they won't be coming out from behind bars for quite some time. On the other hand, I decided to take custody of my grandson and raise him as my own.
Can I stay with Grandma forever?
Of course, sweetheart. As I stroked his head and said that, he showed his first bright smile. I vowed to make Danny happy, and we continue to live happily together. Watching over Danny's growth will always be my important role.